Welcome to Ignite Your Confidence for women in leadership who want to speak up and stand out. I'm your host, Karen Laus. Here you'll get all of the tips and tools that you need to stand out with unshakable confidence. Let's jump into today's episode. Well, folks, we have Erin Gallagher here on the show today, and I cannot wait. And I love her coordinated outfits. So, for those of you that are not watching on video, which is most of you, go to YouTube and check it out. It's awesome. And I love your hat. So, tell us about you, Erin.
Yes, and for those of you who aren't seeing my dressed down attire, I'm wearing my feminist AF hat and a fancy sweatshirt because it's as much as I could muster up in the world today. So, Karen, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here, and very excited for the conversation.
Great. So,
me,
I want to
is
hear,
that what we're looking?
Go for it.
So I am the founder and CEO of Ella. Ella is an inclusive network, creating access for women to human and financial capital. I have found that when we think about the lack of women who are in positions of power and influence, it has never been about ability or aspiration or ambition. It's always been about access. And so we have to do a better job of creating that access so that women can even be a part of the consideration set for job opportunities and wealth building. So that's what I'm up to now. And this is my second company. My first company that I launched a few years ago was named one of Fast Company's world's most innovative in March of last year. It was
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. It was pretty wild. Built it from becoming Interpublic Group, which is a global holding company, IPG's first equity investment in a majority women-owned business. They had never done it before in their 93-year history. And so grew it from that over the next 2.5 years to winning that accolade and doing really powerful, important work with companies like LinkedIn and United Airlines and McDonald's and Carhartt and others. And so, I guess now I can say that I'm like a multi-time founder, startup entrepreneur. Yeah. And, it's exhausting. I spent 15 years in corporate before that. And so I have seen kind of all the sides. And this is my first time being a solopreneur, which is just another really complex aspect of being a founder of a business. And for anyone who's listening that is one, I send you all of my support and any energy I have left because we all need it. I'm the mother of 2 boys. I have a 6 and a 4-year-old. They are wild and a ton of fun, and have an amazing husband that we've been married for, I think, coming up on 10 years now. And so I have a really, important support system that allows me to do much of the challenging, difficult work that I feel is my calling, which is really to be a disruptor and to challenge systems that were not built by and for so many of us, particularly women of color, and most specifically Black women. And so it is my mission to make the world more equitable and to make more money for women everywhere.
Yes, love that. Well, thinking about your story, is this something that you always wanted to do?
Probably not this specifically. I don't think that I didn't set out as some people set out to be a entrepreneur. They know it, it's in them. They want to have their own company. That wasn't where my head was. I thought I was going to be a lawyer when I was, I went to Michigan. I was an English major, but I took a lot of poli-sci classes and I took the LSAT. I really thought that was going to be my path. And the reason I wanted to be a lawyer was to create more justice in the world, right? So the spirit of kind of my intention has always been the same, but the medium through which I've done it or the profession or the career or place where I worked has changed over time and evolved. But I think the thing about entrepreneurship in my experience is that when it does find you, like, you have no choice. And so for me, it was, 2018, the electing a person who never, ever should have been, I guess it was 2016 when that actually happened, who should never have been our president. And then over the course of the next 2 years, just the vitriol and specifically the misogyny that was so
Yeah.
rampant. And so Me Too and Time's Up, like all of these things came out of the woodwork to the forefront, and media cared about them for the first time. And that's really when I decided that I was working inside of the system trying to change it, and it wasn't working fast enough. So I needed to step outside of it and try to change it from the outside. And that's how this part of my career sort of coursed in this direction.
Mhm. Mhm. Where do you get your confidence from?
Man, Karen's coming with it. Um, well, I think that, I was a military kid. My mom was in the Coast Guard, so we moved every 2 to 4 years my entire life. So
Wow.
I had to come into spaces not only where I didn't know anyone, but I was completely unknown. And when you do that over and over again, you start to, figure out who you are quite quickly because you need to be able to communicate that to others. So it required me to grow up fast
Hmm.
and to be clear about where I stood on things and who I was so that I could kind of introduce myself, present myself to these new schools and teams and spaces. So I have, although that was a challenging thing to have to navigate as a kid, and I went, it's like first through fourth grade, fifth and sixth grade, seventh and eighth grade, ninth and 10th grade, 11th and 12th. Those are all different cities all over the country.
Wow.
And so, that was challenging. It has been, a real skill that I have honed over time. And so now I can go into any room and not know anyone and be completely fine and comfortable. It's also allowed me to connect with people, and I can connect with people pretty quickly because of, you use the word confidence. I think that's a good word. I think it's the right word. It's also just clarity. I have
Mhm.
clarity about
Mhm.
who I am and what I believe. And so once you have that, opinions don't matter as much
That's really powerful.
because they really
Yeah.
are. They're opinions. So like
Mhm.
as a person who's very vocal on LinkedIn and has, a pretty big following of 50,000 people, I get a lot of
Mhm.
feedback about what people think about what I've said.
I'm sure.
Okay. Some of it is public and some of it is in the DMs because they don't want anyone to know they're saying this to a person. So I get a lot of
Uh,
feedback, and I do not spend even a second time reading something that is bullshit. I delete
wow.
it. I just move on. And Karen, that took a while. I turned 40 last year, and 20 years of therapy, led
Mhm.
me to that moment of really just finally standing in my power and
Yeah.
making a decision to no longer abandon myself in service to other people. And so when you find that and you figure that out, it is it is just a really powerful way forward.
Mhm. Well, that's a quote right there. No longer abandon myself in service to other people. Wow. What was it like when you got, because there's a lot of women that would love to be in that place where the things that other people, yeah, you get it. What was it like when you got your first piece of highly critical or rude or mean feedback or whatever? I'm curious how that felt and then how you overcame that.
So you mean like when I got my first piece of that feedback after I sort of was in that
I'm
place?
kind of thinking, can we do one before and after?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm
So
I'm curious about the transformation and how people can get there.
yeah, no, it's a really important question. I think that there's no way I could remember the very first time I got critical feedback. I'm
Sure.
sure it was as a young girl, right? And so I think it's death by a thousand cuts if you're a woman because you are given feedback how you look, how you walk, how you talk, what you sound like, um, what your hair looks like, how you dress. You're given feedback all the time, all the time. And, I actually talked about this recently. I said, women are told that our appearance means nothing and everything.
Mm.
ever. And so you sort of have to put on a bit of Teflon as you walk through the world, and you know that you are going to have people who are telling you what they think about you as a person and how, what you have to say in the world. Before I was in a place where I was really clear about my boundaries, I took a lot of that feedback as direction
Ah.
and advice that was, whether I liked it or it was solicited, that it was something I needed to take into consideration. And so I let a lot of people tell me who I was.
Mm-hmm.
I let a lot of people tell me that my experience wasn't actually what I thought it was. It's the definition of gaslighting, where you're told,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's the way it really happened. I don't think that's what they meant. I think that you're too sensitive, right? You're told all of these things. All of those messages to women in particular are, don't trust yourself, right? Don't listen to your
Yep.
intuition. It's wrong. And so I had spent many years in my work life, but also my personal life, being trauma bonded to people that I thought had my best interest in mind, but never did.
Mm-hmm.
And so it required my sort of exiting and of those relationships, personal and professional, and also my setting of boundaries, to recognize how much that feedback over time was damaging to me, and how wrong it was. It was just really, it was wrong and detrimental, and also very manipulative. So when I made this, I got really sick with COVID,
Mm.
January of last year, right before I turned 40.
Oh, wow.
And I had the vaccine and everything, but like, it just took me down because I was so burnt out. I was so worn down. And so my immune system was like, we have nothing left to do. Like, we can't help you here. And there is nothing quite like being alone in an ER room, hooked up to an IV, getting 2 liters of fluids, and them saying, are you sure you don't need to use the restroom? And I was like, I feel nothing. Right.
Oh.
To sort of wake me up. It really woke me up to, like, I'm not going to make a change. I haven't made a change, but my body is telling me that it's done. And so I left the company that I co-founded. And that was the first step in the right direction of reclaiming my time, of finding myself again, of stepping back into my own power, of believing me, trusting my intuition,
Mm.
and also in believing again that my worth and my value are inherent, and they are not only, they don't exist only in service to other people and in performance. So now when I get feedback, it depends on who it's from, whether or not I take it to heart, because they're
Mm-hmm.
people who I trust, who give me critical feedback that is important. And then for everyone else, I really recognize that it has so much more to do with them than it has to do with me.
Yes. Yes. Everybody hear that line. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Yes.
And I want to hear more about the hype woman and the origination, because of course we all know, anybody that knows you knows that that is what you are known for, among many other amazing things. And tell us what transpired a little bit more in detail there.
What a wild experience. Um, it, when I write on LinkedIn all the time. I
Mm-hmm.
use LinkedIn as a publishing platform. I think it really has become that for so many people, and it's no longer just a virtual resume. It's
Right.
a content
Right.
platform where you can decide who you want to hear from and pay attention to and learn from. So that is where I go to write when I'm thinking about something that I can't get out of my head, or I'm paying attention to something that's happening in culture that I think needs to be addressed. Sometimes it's really heavy stuff. Sometimes it's what people would call political, although I think it's very interesting that anything that involves race or gender is called political.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting, which is why, again, we've been told you can't talk about politics in the office. So I can talk about myself. Again,
Right, right.
that's like a whole other podcast. But so I talk about all these things, and I saw this picture of the moment where Jamie Lee Curtis was hyping Michelle Yeoh as she won Best Actress at the Golden Globes for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And her face, her reaction, Jamie Lee Curtis's, was just like unabashed, like joy, like fierce support. And I looked at it and I thought, God, we never see women doing this for each other. What
Hmm.
a rare visual of a woman just hyping another woman, being so excited for her success and not seeing it as a threat. So I wrote this post on LinkedIn that said, this is our vibe for 2023, ladies, unabashed hype woman. This is what we're going to do for each other. When you see someone talking about a success, you are not going to go to that place that you've been conditioned to go that says, who does she think she is?
Hmm.
Why did she win that award? Why does she have a podcast? What about me? Right? We have been taught that our entire lives,
Hmm.
that other women are our competition and that their success detracts from ours. It is a really, really specific patriarchal plan that they had where they said, you know what? If we get them to focus on each other and take each other down, while they're doing that, we will just keep going and rising.
Hmm.
And so instead of us saying, all five of us deserve to be in the C-suite of this company, we think there's one spot because there's only been one spot that we've seen held by a woman. And so
Right.
when anyone else gets it, it does feel like it's our spot that was taken. We're not doing that anymore. We are this is a seismic shift in the way that women view one another. And we are making a decision to not only hype other women, but also to hype ourselves, right? To share our own successes and know that we're going to have women that surround us and do that. So that was the post. It went viral on LinkedIn, and one of Jamie Lee Curtis's friends saw it and sent it to her. And then she posted on Instagram, and then it took off from there. So it was completely wild. It was covered in like 15 global media outlets, Huffington Post, Today Show, The Guardian, Upworthy, all kinds of places. The day after the post went viral, I made a shirt. That kind of went wild as well. That went wild. Jamie Lee Curtis shared the shirt. I was like, oh, girl, you got to tell me when you're going to do this stuff. I am not prepared. So then I sent her the shirt, right? And then she and I communicate now. We text with each other. She's really supportive. I launched hypewomen.com.
That's
And so,
fantastic.
and what I've done there is this was a dream of mine, and this just kind of was a perfect way to sort of bring it to life. I've always had a dream of creating an online marketplace for women-owned businesses to just
Mm.
direct people to other women. And so the
Yeah.
Hype Women partners, that we have up there right now, that's the entire,
Oh,
it's it's McBride Sisters, right? The first and largest Black women-owned winery in the US that has been around for 17 years. It's Farm Girl Flowers, right? Which is the first
yes. I
12-year-old
love them. Yeah.
direct to consumer flower marketplace, created by Christina Stempel. There's tons of other amazing women-owned businesses on there. So everyone should go check them out and buy from them. And so we did that. And then we're launching a Hype Women podcast in July. Jamie Lee Curtis will be our first guest.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing.
Other incredible women like Soledad O'Brien, and women just from every kind of industry at every level, founders
Yep.
to corporate C-suite. And so it continues, right? I mean, this was
Yeah.
January, and here we are in April, and every day people are still using the hashtag hype women when they are posting about something and they want to draw attention to the work that another woman is doing, or they want people to pay attention to the work that they themselves are doing. So we will keep this going. This mantra is a new way of thinking and a new way of working. And I think for a lot of women, what I really appreciated was it was permission to also like forgive themselves for having those thoughts and feelings,
Ah,
and to say it's not your fault, it's
mhm,
conditioning. And so
mhm.
this is my number one sort of piece of advice when people are trying to sort of change behavior.
Yeah.
You can't shame yourself into changing your behavior. You can't, right? It's not productive. And so instead, recognize that when you've been conditioned to think something, it's going to be in there for a really long time. So when you think it, the first response, like here's the example. Someone posts that they've won, Inc. Female Founder 100. Now, Karen, I applied and I did not win. I mean, I had no business applying. My company was 4 months old when I did it, and like these are amazing, amazing women. But you also miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Right.
So,
I was gonna
so I
say.
see all the right. But you got to throw your hat in the ring. So
Yes.
the female Inc. 100 comes out. An older version of me would have been jealous and a little bit angry, and I would have probably said, "How did that woman get it and I didn't get it?" But the hype women movement is about potentially still having that feeling and going, of course, that's what I'm thinking. Of course, I,
Yeah.
I've been told my whole life to think that, but I'm going to make a different decision. And instead, then going and reaching out to those women and congratulating them and then posting about them. The feeling that you get from like that 180-degree shift from that either jealousy or envy to support and solidarity, it is like freedom. It's freedom.
Mhm, mhm. Yep, absolutely. So good. I love it. Well, what's next for you?
Oh, Karen, I can't talk about that yet.
Oh,
Well, there's something.
can you give us a snippet?
Yes, here's the snippet. There is something happening right now that I have been thinking about for years. Um, and and we might just be making it happen in a way that is going to have the most impact. So again, why I created Ella, the work that I've set out to do, what I've been wanting to do is twofold: to help women build generational wealth and to accelerate women into positions of power and influence. We're doing both of those things with the fairway dinners and with Ella and all of the work that we do. But the missing thing for me has been more of that access to those roles that are available, those rooms where they need to have more women in those spaces. And so being able to have a role or a partnership that would allow me to tap this network that I've created and then this community that we've created, and to start to bring those women in. I mean, that's the dream. If we have
Mhm.
more women in leadership making more
Yes.
money, that to me is the solve for almost every single issue that we have.
Mhm.
So there's something that I hope to be solidifying and being able to announce in the next few months. So that's the kind of thing that is coming up. But what's next for me is a fairway dinner tomorrow in Chicago. I mean, we do.
Oh,
Yes, we
wonderful.
do our dinner.
Tell us about Fairway a little bit more, because I know that it's a great, incredible resource for people.
Yeah, it's been amazing. We've in over the course of 4 months, we've hosted 10 dinners. And so the idea for the fairway came from this notion of the golf course.
Mm,
I thought about this a lot, and I would just kind of look at the business that was being done there and this entire ecosystem. There for more than 300 years, straight white men have been doing business on the golf course.
yeah.
And women, and particularly women of color, have not been invited. And if we dare to show up, we're not included. The conversation changes, right? So even if there's a Wall Street Journal article that published the research findings of two men from Johns Hopkins, and the headline was, "Guess what? Business is being done on the golf course. So ladies, you better
I
go."
saw that.
I mean, you have to imagine that like 600 people sent it to me, and they're like, "I respond to this," and I'm like, "Listen," I said, "Let me be super clear. I have no problem with golf and I have no problem with straight white men. My problem is with entire ecosystems that are built by and for one type of person and exclude everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the issue that I was hoping to address with the fairway. We are not going to go play golf. It's just not going to be the choice for so many of us. And it's the way that it is set up where most of it's mostly men that are doing this for business. I mean, it's incredible that they pulled this off, that we have decided and accepted as a culture that golf is a business activity.
Right.
What? What? And that it is paid for by
Preach.
company's
Preach.
time and dime. Like it's incredible. Like it is incredible. Can you imagine if we were like, hi, no, mani pedis is a business activity. And just women were just getting mani pedis all the time, right? We're sitting there, we're talking about our investments, like it's incredible. So what we're doing with the fairway is it's the same spirit, meaning we are going to talk about money. We are going to talk about business. We are going to give each other access to opportunities, to our networks. We're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to build wealth together in the way that these men have been building wealth on the golf course. And again, with the hype women sort of spirit, we are going to see that as a growth opportunity, and not have a scarcity mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So over the course of 4 months, 10 dinners in 5 markets. We've Chicago, New York, LA, DC, San Francisco. We have many women in other places where we need to get, and we are trying, but it is just me.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, that's right. And I have a 6 and a 4-year-old. So,
Yeah.
and they were 5 and 3 when I launched. And then when I launched my first company, they were 2 and 7 months. So,
My
so at
gosh.
these, with these dinners for 200 women, we have created more than 4,000 curated connections for them. And it has led to an increase in wealth by $5.2 million.
Wow.
The unfunded bootstrapped. That is how much wealth has been gained by these women from the job opportunities that they got coming out of the fairway, the rooms they were able to get into to get meetings with people that they never would have been able to get meetings with, the human capital that was shared, where people shared, you're paying what? You're charging what? Your bonus was what? No. And we all talk about it, and
Mm.
been talking about it for centuries. And it is changing. It is changing women's wealth. And so that's what we are doing. It's what we will continue to do. We do Chicago every month. We do New York every other month. And then those other markets, we will be announcing us coming back to them. But from that, we started a membership and an app that allowed women to stay connected and to continue to make their asks. What do you need?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then if you can't help that person directly, is there someone that you can direct them to that can? How do
Mm-hmm.
we sort of create that web of influence?
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, in the spirit of that, what do you need?
I think that what gives me the most joy is seeing women sort of find that power in themselves again and to stand up for themselves. It's not always easy to do. And I recognize as a straight, white, cisgendered woman that I have the most privilege of any person on the planet except for a straight white man. So I better damn well use my privilege. I have a responsibility to challenge the systems and to say things that a lot of people can't say because they are inside of an organization that doesn't allow them to speak up about that, or they're just in an unsafe situation psychologically or physically. And so I think, the fairway has been a real safe haven for people and a psychologically safe space to share and to connect. And so I invite anyone who is needing that to join us, but also just to continue to tell the truth. Speaking truth to power is our strongest weapon against all of the challenges that we're facing right now, and we are stronger together. And so, remembering that you have a community of women who has your back.
Yeah. I love it. Well, is there anything that I haven't asked you yet that you want me to ask or that you want to share?
Hmm. I mean, it's sort of like yes and no. We could go on forever, right? There isn't anything like really pressing. I think the only other thing that I'll share really fast that has been a big question was what did I do when I went to the White House a few weeks ago?
Oh,
Right, when I was asked to come there. And so, to the degree that I can share, what I will say is, um, I am supporting and helping this director, the assistant director of cyber, with the workforce strategy. And what I really appreciated about them was the acknowledgement and the recognition that they have institutional knowledge as members of the White House, members of the government, that help them to write these types of policies and strategies. And they also have a ton of blind spots because of that, right? So they knew they needed to bring in people
they
from the outside.
recognize that.
They did. They
That's
did. So
that's incredible.
that was such a heartening thing, right? To even get the request to come,
Mhm.
based on the fact that they knew they needed people that were outside of their organization. So I can't wait to share all the work when it is ready to be published. But I think, we all, the roles that we play look different. And some of the things that we are doing are really small, and some of the things that we are doing are really big, but they all matter. And so I
Mhm.
think it's so important to not compare yourself to others when you think about the impact that you're having, and just do what
Yeah.
you are able to do every single day.
Yes. Beautiful. Well, where can people reach you?
LinkedIn's the easiest place to reach me. Find me there, follow me and DM me. I see them all. I respond to everything that I can. And then if you want to, you can send me an email to Erin@ellaforall.com. But that's probably the best place. That's where I spend the most online time, is on LinkedIn.
Okay, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Erin. It's been wonderful to hear from you. And that's a wrap of another episode of Ignite Your Confidence. I'm your host, Karen Laus. Thank you so much for listening. If you loved today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review. It helps other people find the podcast faster, and it certainly helps me. If you're interested in more tips and tools around confidence, please join me over in my Facebook group called Ignite Your Confidence with Karen Laus. Remember, you too can stand out with unshakable confidence.